Hello everybody, I wanted to take you through, I had a good use case today for using a remote table for the first time. I'm working with the City of Los Angeles, and the City of Los Angeles has an API that they publish. It's an open API for their safety permits, all their building and safety permits. So you can go ahead and use this API, and I was just looking at it so you can actually go on the link and pull it down, or I could try it right from here. And when I run this, I notice that it brings back all of the building permits that LA has in their database. Right? So this one takes a little while, but it'll pull back all of the information in a JSON set so that I can go ahead and see that this is the permit number, this is the status of the permit, and it gives you a whole bunch of them, right? So I just pulled a huge list. Actually, it's still downloading because it is a pretty long list. And you can see that this one's already back to, because I pulled everything, this goes back to 2014 at least. So what I want to do is I have a requirement to do a CSM demo for this department for building and safety, and they want to be able to issue a permit, actually issue an agent when somebody has an open permit that's over $5 million. So what they can do is they can get assistance with their permitting process and certificates of occupancy and so on if they have a project over $5 million. So I built a custom application for this, and they have inspection cases that we can create them just like a regular case. But I also have this table that's the permits table. And this permits table is a remote table. And I just wanted to share a little bit with you on how powerful this remote table is and what you can do with it. So what I did is once I define the table itself, and I say, okay, what do I want to bring back from that data set? I have to create a definition, and the definition I created was get permits. So this is the definition for the remote table called permits that I defined before. Now the function took a little bit of doing, but basically what it is creating a REST message and putting that URL in that I got from that website that I just showed you. Except at the end I was able to isolate it down to just a few records, and what I was able to do here is get it where the date was after the last status update on the permit was after January 1st of 2019, so I didn't want to get really old permits. And then the last thing it did is it said if the valuation is over $5 million. So that's basically the query I ran, brought it back into requestBody, and then it took a little bit of doing down here because what you had to do, it was kind of wonky the way that the JSON came back to use JSON.parse. So if you'll notice what it does when it comes back, it puts these square brackets around it. And I'm really after this first data set here, right? But there's other data sets in here as well, like the applicant relationship. So by referencing the first data set, I was able to go ahead and write this loop with a basically with an array of these data and bring them all back into a record. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to show you. I will put this code in the post so that you have the code and you don't have to go ahead and try to stop the video and copy it, because this will really help you out. You might have to mess with this a little bit, the way the parsing works. But basically what you're doing is you're parsing out these different things, the status date and the status date from the record. The one thing I did have to do is when I brought back a big list, it didn't like me when I was trying to generate a unique sysID using the query, because you do query and then you get unique ID. It wouldn't work. It's almost like the platform wouldn't keep up with it. So what I did is for the sysID, I'm just using that same permit number that I'm pulling from the records. I don't know if that'll hurt me in the long run, but it was a workaround that got me by for the demo, at least for now. Right, so what happens when you create this remote table is basically I'm able to go back and I have a list of permits. So these are actually permits coming back from the API. And I have a table, real permits, right, back from the API. I got about 339 rows that met my criteria that I developed. So now I can use this table in a bunch of different places. Now the first place I used this table was I used it when I'm doing my actual inspection cases. So if I want to go and apply for an inspection case management, right, and this is when I would apply for a new one. So what I can do down here is now for my permit application, I can actually use that reference table, my remote table for permits, and put that in my permit application, which is really nice. The other thing I can do is when I come back and I have the permits that I'm using, so I have my different cases that I'm using, and these cases, you have to put a permit in when you're putting these cases in. So inside each of these cases, I will have, let me see if I can do, so I'm going to change my view. All right, what I'll have in here is I'll be able to add that to the list, right? So I can add my case, I can add my the number that I had before, my permit application number, because I can add that to my case now next to my contact. And what's nice about that is when I do put in a permit, this link to the permit actually will bring up that permit. So that's the whole record that's pulling back from the API in real time, which I thought was really cool and super powerful. So you can use it in a record, you can use it as a reference table. The one place I saw where it doesn't work, and I don't know if this is my instance or if it's something they're still working on, but if I pull it up in a record and I have that permit application number here and I click the I, it doesn't let me preview the record. Right? So the only way to actually get to this record is to do it from the list back here, and then it does work from here. So that's it. I just wanted to give you a quick video of remote tables, and I thought this is a really cool use case, and the customer is going to be super psyched about it because I'm able to show them how we hook into their permitting system for the whole demo. What I can even do is go further, because the application I showed you earlier, once you pull back the permit, I already know the valuation. I already know the number of stories. I can pull all this information out of the permit. So instead of having this customer fill out this really long form like they're filling out today, I can just have them put a permit application number in there and not even have to write the whole thing, right? They can start typing, and what it'll do, it'll populate the whole form for them. So I think the customers will be really jazzed, and yeah, hopefully this will give you guys a good head start with using remote tables in your own demos. Thanks a lot.